What was it like when you knew that it wasn't going to last very much longer and that the series had been canceled by NBC? That's just got to have a terrible effect on your morale, on your approach to it and everything.
You mean the third year, the end of that third year when we knew?
Right.
Oh, it was a very distressing.
Well, in the second year, wasn't there talk of it going off after the second year, too?
There was talk from the beginning.
In fact, if it was
it was always in trouble.
If it is such a hit, why weren't the ratings better on the damn thing?
Well, I don't know. There are many schools of thought on that. I don't think Star Trek really ever had the proper time slot, for one thing.
Yeah. I think it should have been on at 7:30 at night and stayed there. Yeah, but, well, we better slip off.
But it was a very distressing thought, you know, because we knew that we were, when they put us in that 10 o'clock Friday night slot, we knew that was the graveyard slot, and we knew it was on its way out, and we felt all along that we were doing something rather special, that this was a show that should not go off the air, again reflected by our mail, because we were very low in the ratings, but we were breaking every fan mail record in the history of NBC. So the two don't add up. You know, the 1,200 homes that govern you is what puts Star Trek off the air. That's the way it has to be. But we were breaking all kinds of fan mail records. So I was told that
we were very big in the 30 cities rating, but not in the nationwide.
Yeah.
In the nationals,
I'd like to suggest something terribly sacrilegious. I believe that, and I'm not privy to any special information, but I believe that the ratings probably did reflect accurately our popularity in terms of the network audience. I think that our followers were passionate, vociferous, and militant, and they were ambulatory. They were ready to go out and picket. They were ready to do anything they could. I think it represented a minority of the viewing public below which you can keep a show on the air. However, and that's the big thing, and that's why I feel safe in saying that. I happen to believe it, but I feel safe in saying it. I think in syndication, we now have the numbers that we would have needed to stay on the air at that time, because we've gone beyond the metropolitan kind of climate. People all over the country are watching the show. The Great Breadbasket, the Bible Belt. You know, science fiction, something that I wasn't particularly familiar with before or was aware of, but science fiction is considered anti-religious, or has been. But with the continual repeating of the shows over and over again, we have picked up an audience all through the country that is diversified, that is not simply children, that is not simply college students, it is really the entire scope of this country.
What you're really saying, Walter, is that when a local station has that program in its vault, it can schedule it at the time it feels it will reach the most responsive audience to it, instead of simply taking it down the line from the television network when the gods of power in New York decide it's going to be on.
Right.
But it's also, you know, when Walter talks about the Bible Belt, just about every Star Trek show was a great morality play also. You know, there was beautiful things said on there, and there was lovely truths that were stated, and everyone worked together in a loving way. You know, and all the characters worked.
I'm just sitting here wondering, now suppose that one of the networks put it back into production for prime time.
Not one, it would have to be NBC. They own the rights to it.
All right, suppose NBC, which to level is not having one of the great rating years in its history, suppose they decided, hey, you know, conventions all over the country, everything going on, let's put the thing back on and see what happens. Would it work, or would it destroy the myth and the legend?
I don't know. That's you know, that old thing of, can you go home again, you know? And it's the same, we have the gamble with the motion picture where we did 79 episodes. There's got to be one episode in that everybody's going to like, but when you come out with one shot on the movie, you know, not everyone is maybe going to like the movie. But it would be a big question as to whether or not...
Wouldn't you think the movie, though, is almost a pretty well calculated risk? I mean, the audience is built in.
I would think that...
Yeah.
I think everybody believes that it's, as you say, that it's a foregone conclusion. The only problem is that if they decide, because it's a feature film as opposed to a television show, that they have to change the thrust of it in some way, make it monsters and huge battle scenes, something that will, you know, that you can't get on television. You may distort and
transporting it to the big screen and then trying to make it bigger to fit.
Right. You may distort the entire feeling of the show. You may.
I think it needs a storyline, something on the order of the crew encountering Christ in space and finding out that Christ is actually Lucifer. Satan.
I just don't know if we're quite ready for that one yet, DeForest.
Apparently we're not.
Apparently not.
I don't believe we are. Let me just pause here for a couple of minutes for our stations, and then we will have Mr. Harlan Ellison out, who wrote one of the most popular episodes in the history of Star Trek, and we'll be right back after these announcements.